Hello, and welcome to this session of the Azure Spring Clean 2022. Today we'll be talking about Bicep Registry. So my name is Tijani Belmansour. I'm a cloud solution architect working for Cofomo in Quebec City. And I'm also a two-time Microsoft Azure MVP. I'm also the co-host of the Azure Quebec community that you can reach out on the Meetup. So meetup.com/AzureQC. My Twitter handle is Tijani_B, and I have two blogs, espacenuagique.com, which is my blog in French, because I'm basically a French-speaking guy, and dev2/Tijani, which is my blog in English. Content is basically the same, but one is in French and the second one is in English. Today's session is from a series of videos that I'm doing with my good friend André Gérard on Bicep on our YouTube channel called Run at Cloud. That you have the link on the screen. The videos are in French, but today I'm taking one video which is especially for you guys. You have exclusivity for now. It's not yet on our series, and today it will be in English. So let's get started. What is Bicep Registry? Bicep Registry is basically a registry for your Bicep templates and modules. It allows you to create an enterprise-wide standardized IAC template. So IAC is the short for infrastructure as code. And once you create those IAC template and modules, you can share them through an external container registry, just as Azure Container Registry or ACR. Why is this useful? Well, it's useful if there is a team in your organization that is responsible for creating the modules and template for your IAC code that will be used by the product teams within that organization. So if you're familiar with development, think of it as the NuGet. If you are familiar with .NET programming, think of it as NuGet or NPM for IAC, okay? Also as a PowerShell Gallery if you're more familiar with PowerShell. So you have modules that you can download or integrate into your code and use them. And this is a relatively new feature that appeared in October 2021. So the current state of the Bicep registry is that we are able to publish Bicep modules only, but we can expect later to be able to publish linters, types, and extensions. So one question that may arise is, why not just use a network file share? So, well, is it possible to make a module available through a network file share, like a blob storage, for example? However, the downside of that solution is that the code will have a strong dependency on the network file share. What does it mean? It means that if there are issues and the network file share is no longer available because you have lost internet connection, and then you won't be able to use that module. Okay. However, by using a registry, the module is downloaded on your workstation and cached on that workstation. Hence, a network file share is only required when obtaining this module, so when you pull out the module from your registry. Now that we've seen the importance of a registry, should we rely on a public or a private registry? A good question. It's important to note that the content is published as an OCI artifact. OCI stands for Open Container Initiative. Hence, every OCI compliant registry could potentially be used as a Bicep registry. For example, Docker Hub is a good example of a public registry. Azure Container Registry, or ACR for short, is a good example of either a public or a private registry. So usually what we do is we publish the module to the registry, which is an OCI compliant registry. Microsoft will have an official public registry. For now, it's basically a public GitHub repo that you can reach on github.com/azure/resource modules, and there you can find every module that Microsoft created. This repo is for now managed by Microsoft employee and will be also managed by the community later on. For the community to be able to manage that repo, an approval process needs to be in place. So to make sure of base quality and standard for the module that are published. Once approved, a module will be then made available on Microsoft public registry on Docker Hub. So the process that we are expecting to see is you will, as a community member, will make a PR, also a pull request for your newly created modules. It will trigger a CI pipeline in order to make sure that basic checks are in place and respected. Then an approval by someone at Microsoft will be needed. And finally, if that approval has been fulfilled, your module will end up on the Docker Hub. So the current state of that public registry, or making that public registry available to everyone, is as we mentioned. So the basic things preventing for now community member to publish on the repo is the necessity of the requirement to have an approval process in place. Okay, so once this will be done, Microsoft will also need to set up some things like ratings, download tracking, and so on, somewhat like you can see today on a NuGet or the PowerShell Gallery, for example. So let's make things more concrete. Let's dive into creating a registry, okay, and publishing a module. First thing we need to do is to create a registry with Azure Container Registry. So on the screen you have the commands for that. So first we create a resource group if we don't have one already. Then we create an ACR. Okay, we will use the basics queue and we will enable admin credentials. So in order to get the credential of that repo, of that not repo but registry, sorry for that. Next we'll retrieve the login server name through this command, and we'll log into our newly created ACR through those commands. So first we'll get the ACR username, and then we'll get one of the two passwords. Okay, and finally we issue the command to log into ACR through this username and password that we obtained. Now that we have our registry in place and we are logged in to our registry, let's create a module. So for this example, we created a simple modules which will represent an app service plan. Here, as you can see, it's a basic Bicep code. Okay, nothing special here. One thing you may want to do is to upgrade your Bicep installations. You can do it through this command, az bicep upgrade. And finally, we will publish our newly created module to the registry. So we can use the az bicep publish command, specifying the bicep module file and the target registry on which we want to publish. So here you can see it's our ACR, and we have a section that we specified here. We created the bicep/module section. Our module name will be app svc plan, and it will be version 1. Okay, version numbers is important because you can publish as many version numbers as you want, and you will specify the version number at the end so your users can use any of the version that you make available. Okay, so when you run this command, it will compiles the module and then publish it to the registry. So let's see what this looks like into the Azure portal. So here, as you can see, we have our resource group that we created, run at cloud RG. And in that resource group, we can see our Azure Container Registry instance. We click on it, and we click on repository, and we can see a new repository for our app service plan module. So we click on it. We can see here we have version 1, and for version 1 we have the metadata and the manifest here. Now that we have our module created and published to our registry, let's suppose we are users of a module and we want to reference that module in our Bicep registry, from the Bicep registry in our code. So what we do here, as you may do with any modules, you specify the type here. The difference is that you will reference the module on your Bicep registry or from your Bicep registry. And here we have a BR prefix, so BR colon, and the name of our registry here and the path to our module. Okay, so the same path that we specified earlier when we published our module. Okay. Here you may see that we have like an error. Why? Because as soon if you are working, for example, on Visual Studio Code, as soon as you specify the path to that module, Visual Studio Code will try to pull out that module from the Bicep registry. And if it's a private registry, so you didn't give permission to access to your registry, so you are not logged in to Azure, for example, then it will not be able to pull out those this module, and you will get an error here. Once you pull out the module from the registry, you can use it as any other module that you use. One thing that you may want to see or to understand here is that when you reference a module, once it will be compiled, the code from that module will be copied into the resulting ARM template. Okay. One way to see this is here. You see we are compiling or building the Bicep template that reference our module, so the web app reference the app service plan. And once we build this file, we'll see in the resulting code that the code of the app service plan module has been copied into the code, resulting code of the web app. So you can see here it's our web app.json, the resulting build of the web app.bicep file. And here you can see we have the server farm, so app service plan here, that the code was copied here into the ARM template. So that was I was mentioning earlier about the authorization fail, so we don't have access. And the way to access this module is to log in to your registry. Okay. As you saw earlier, the path to our module might feel a bit long. Okay, so we can rely on aliases in order to shorten that path. For that, we need to create a bicep config.json file at the same level as the code that will consume the module, and put the following content in that bicep config.json file. So we specify that we will use module aliases. Our alias is BR and private modules, and once we reference private modules, we are targeting this registry and this module path. Okay, So now we can shorten our the path to our module like this: br/private modules colon the name of our module and the version number that we want to use. Okay. So if we want to use CI/CD pipelines in order to publish our modules to our registry, or in order to pull modules from our registry, our service principal that runs this module needs to have some roles. So in order to get the pull a module from registry, the service principal needs to have ACR pull role on that registry. If we want to use a pipeline to push a module to the registry, the service principal that's running the pipeline needs to have the ACR push role on that registry. And this concludes this session on Bicep Registry. I hope you liked it and found it interesting and valuable. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this session. There are a lot of great sessions on the Azure Spring Clean event. I hope that you like them too. Don't hesitate to reach out to me on Twitter, Johnny_B, and see you next time. Bye-bye.